welcome to Read and Rise, the spiritual book club that introduces you to the most inspiring spiritual books. As always, my name is Katrin, and it's lovely to have you here listening to this very special episode, because we've got an interesting topic today. We've got 2 books, and we've got 1 guest. So today it's about ceremony. And what comes to your mind when you think about ceremony? Well, to be honest, I wasn't too much into ceremony in my spiritual life. And I would have thought about incense, church maybe, some strange rituals. But as I learned from my guest, this is in fact not what makes a ceremony. And for today, I was researching a bit, and I came across a really beautiful small citation that explains ceremony in a very different way. And that citation says, "Every small gesture, repeated with intention, becomes the doorway to something greater." So it's not about great gestures, it's about our intention. And with that, my guest is Arianna. She is Italian. She lives in Bolzano. And I got to know Arianna from her yoga classes, which are so special. Actually, they are like ceremonies because Arianna combines yoga, TCM, music, literature. So they're not mere yoga classes with funny postures, as you know, but they're more like ceremonies. Arianna, lovely to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here, and it's so nice that you're joining. Can I ask you to introduce yourself, a bit about your work, maybe your interests, and of course, why you are so passionate about ceremonies?
Thank you, Katrin. It's a pleasure to be here in your podcast, and I'm very, very happy to share my passion here with you and your listeners and your community. So as you mentioned, I'm a yoga teacher. My journey started with yoga, and then for me, it's a bit yoga opened the door to different realities. Like I got then into sound, so I'm doing also sound bath and sound ceremonies where we use sound as a gateway to hear and to listen our inner sound. I'm really passionate about plant medicine, which we talk more. So I like to do different kind of ceremonies with plants, which guide us into deeper connection with nature, but also with our own nature, with ourselves. I use these rituals daily for myself, and they really helped me to stay grounded, like in the daily life. Also, when I had some difficult years in my life, and I think they are very, 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 very important for us nowadays. And if we look at so many ancient cultures, in every culture there are some kind of ceremony. I also noticed, I was working in business before, in consultancy, how the modern life disconnect us from nature and from ourselves. So through yoga movement, to reconnection of our breath, to work with these sacred plants, with sounds, I find for me a way to enter a space where the heart leads instead of the mind. So where we reconnect back with what should guide us in our life, and where then the sacred weaves back into daily life. So as you mentioned, the ceremony is not something spectacular, can be something spectacular, but doesn't have to be. But it's something very ordinary that we turn into extraordinary with our intention. And there is a beautiful quote that comes to my mind here from Herman S. And he said that within you, there is a sanctuary and stillness to which you can retreat at any time and be yourself. And I think that's something that we have for free every day, this inner sanctuary. We can enter whenever we want a moment of connection. And when we enter this inner sanctuary, the door of the heart, as I like to call it, then everything that we do with intention, every sip of tea, every yoga asana, but every movement, every word we speak, then can become a prayer. a prayer for our desires, a prayer of peace for the world. In each moment, then becomes a door inward to ourselves. They become opportunity to slow down, to listen deeply, and then to come home to the essence of who we are. So that's what I try to live for myself daily, and try to also share with my community, my yoga classes, in my work. For me, that's the most important thing. Like in every class or ceremony, it's not about performance. It's not about going fast, of reaching, achieving something. It's about coming inward.
I've been to many of your yoga classes and a couple of ceremonies, and this is what I felt, and this is why your classes are so special to me. And yeah, they really provide that doorway to your inner life. You have brought 2 books into this episode, and it's a book about rituals, and then you've got your own book, which I'm of course really curious about. Would you like to tell us a little bit about which book you chose for today to make a start?
Of course, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this book, and really happy that you, when we first met to talk about the episode, that you were also so excited about and that you liked the idea. So one of the books that we will talk about today is The Little Book of Zen Healing, Japanese Rituals for Beauty, Harmony, and Love by Paula Arai. And I got this book after traveling to Japan. So in October, I was traveling 1 month to Japan with my boyfriend. We wanted to visit tea fields, to different tea ceremonies, visit different temples and shrine. Have a month for ourselves to slow down. And since we are both now in the 2nd year of traditional Chinese medicine and Shiatsu school, which Shiatsu, for those of you who don't know it, is a Japanese technique of body work. So we work with the body. Shiatsu means like pressure with our fingers. So we touch ourselves or people. And through this gentle pressure, we activate their own chi, their own healing energy within themselves. And it's based on traditional Chinese medicine, so of the meridians that runs to the body and different organs which are related, of course, to emotions. And it's born in Japan, so we wanted to go there in the house, the house of Shiatsu and green tea, matcha. And it was a beautiful time there. And since I love rituals and I do a lot of rituals for myself, I was fascinated by all the little rituals that they have incorporated in their daily life.
The country of rituals, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the place to go when you're into rituals, isn't it?
Yes, I felt that too. Like, it's very special for rituals. They have a beautiful, simple aesthetic. They have a lot of respect and care for what they do, for nature. And I had the feeling, at least in the I know the big city can be quite different, but when we visited like more remote villages or we stayed in the temples, we had this feeling that they didn't forget how to live slowly and mindful. And when we like to, not every day, because we also like to sleep and enjoy our slow tea in the morning, but the morning that we got up very early, we wanted to go like at 7 in the morning in the temples or in the shrine, like to see it before like it gets full. And there were many, many, many people that came, just like you could see them, they were dressed like in business clothes, just to say one prayer, even 2 minutes before they work. And that was so beautiful for us to see. They passed by, lit an incense, 3 bows, connected to their heart, and then went to the work. And it doesn't take so much time. And I felt how powerful can be that if each of us can do in whatever way works for us, but these little intention ritual of gratitude for ourselves before our daily life, or at the end of the daily life as well. There we experience, for example, the onsen or the public bath, which is also something, the purification ritual that we saw many Japanese people were doing just before going home after the business hours, after working. They went there, they had a bath, and then they went on. But that was beautiful. Even this just 20 minutes at the end of the day, but with consistent every day. And that's why then when I found this book of Paula Arai, I was very excited to read it because I could see with my eyes some of these healing rituals. And I wanted to dive deeper into the books.
When I read it, I found that this book describes so many rituals, everyday rituals, but rituals that have an enormous power on the person that does those rituals. It's really beautiful to read through it, because I also feel that those rituals really bring a beauty with them. They beautify our everyday life in a way, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. And also, I think this book shows also how, I know eating is a big word, and nowadays we read eating every day, eating ritual here and that, healing session. But this book shows us how our well-being, it can be in our own hands too. We do not have to always delegate it to someone else. And healing here, it's described in the book as something that happens in stillness through daily simple acts of care that we do for ourselves. So something very simple. It's not something that needs to be fixed, not something in us that is wrong and I need to fix, but it's about becoming aware of what is there and then slowing down enough to let the body, mind, and spirit come back into harmony. And this slowing down, this observing, this becoming aware can happen like in many aspects of our life during our daily life, as you say, and I was saying, show in the book.
That's already a beautiful definition of a ceremony or a ritual, isn't it?
Yes.
Or how would you define, or how do you understand a ceremony? How does it serve us?
For me, a ceremony doesn't need to serve a specific goal, but as we usually tend to do. I want this, so we'll do that. But it's a way, I think, to move closer to our fullest expression of our true nature. So to move closer, understand us every day a little bit more who we really are. And I like to say also in every sound of in every ceremony, you will discover something more about yourself, because we enter into the stillness, into the quiet, and there lies the power to listen to your heart. So it's not about becoming better, about fixing something in your life, but recognizing our divine nature, what we had, that we are also divine inside. And it's also an invitation to pause, because usually when we have a goal or we want something, we rush into action. And the ceremony instead asks us to wait, to pause, to look within, to listen to the messages of the bodies, to our dreams, to our heart before rushing into action. And then so that we can dare to follow with courage, but also with a clarity and intention and integrity, the calling of the self, of our heart. And I also think that the ceremony or ritual, we can craft our own rituals. Usually we think, and as you said at the beginning, a ritual or ceremony is something bound to religion or to a specific kind of culture. And there are many, of course, religious ceremony, but it doesn't need to be. Like a ceremony or a ritual needs to suit you. It needs to resonate with you. It's much better that you create your own ritual that you love and you enjoy with your pure heart than just taking something and, yeah, I will also do this ritual because I think it can be good for me, and repeating day by day, but without adding anything from yourself, from your own heart. So I think it's really something that you need to create with your heart. And it's exactly a way then to connect to your heart in your very unique way. And there are just 3 keys, I think, that needs to be there. One, of course, is the intention. So I'm doing that with intention, mindfully, with this ritual, this simple act. I'm bringing in gratitude for my life, for the moment, for this plant that I'm drinking, for nature, gratitude to be alive and to breathe right now, gratitude for whatever you feel. And connection, moment of connection, interrelatedness, like with everything around you, connection with your own body, connection with your heart. So when we manage, I think, to stay connected, to see that we are part of a bigger whole, to express gratitude and define a clear intention, but without being too focused or too narrowed on that outcome, without having a clear outcome, just trusting also. Big trust in life is also part of ceremony. Then we can define that anything you do is a ceremony. It's like cultivating compassion for yourself and for others by connecting to what is right now in your heart. And that's why I like to say that for me, life is a ceremony. The whole life can be a ceremony.
That's a really, really beautiful understanding. And it also transforms our idea about life, doesn't it? Because very often life puts pressures, life is insecure. We need to solve our life. We need to solve the problems. With your point of view, we're elevating life, isn't it? We're elevating life from this more problem-bound and negative sphere to something in which we can trust, where we see the beauty, in which we can learn, and in which we can really finally also find the sacred. That's to me, that's a really powerful understanding. And it's also very much about internalizing life, isn't it? Do you have a favorite ceremony, by the way? You mentioned cacao and you mentioned tea.
Yeah, so I really love to connect to plants. And there is here another famous quote from Robin Wall Kimmerer, and that's another beautiful book that we might talk maybe in one of the next episodes, in Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom and the Teaching of Plants. It's a beautiful book about plants. And she explains there that in some native languages, the term for plants translates as those who take care of us. And I really think that plants, from the ancient time, our grandmothers, they were healing themselves to plants. They were connecting to plants, healing not only our body, but our spirit too. Yeah, very powerful allies in our daily life. And that's why I like to work with plants in ceremonies. I first got into cacao already, I think now 6 years ago. And I fell in love with the plants of cacao because I could felt this motherly energy. Cacao, it's called mama cacao. It's a soft power. It's like a warm embrace. It's like the medicine of the heart. It's not bringing us too much in the mind and awakening of the mind so that we can push through our limits and boundaries. I think with cacao, it gives us the strength to do what we really can do in the moment, not going over the limits.
I find it deepens you and it leads you to some hidden or forgotten memories or feelings. And so it's got this really deep power. This is what my impression was.
Yeah, totally. I had the same experience for me. Every time I drink cacao for myself or with a group in ceremonies, you never know how you will feel, what is going to happen. It's always a beautiful experience, but it opens a door to your inner worlds. And then it's up to you you step into the store. I don't want to look inside. But if you dare to look inside, then sometimes or many times, then I was totally crying the ceremony because you feel what is there. It helps us to kind of remove the shadow so that you can see more clearly. And of course, there is joy, then this joy is amplified and you are so joyful. If there is some sadness inside, some pain, then it shows you this pain. It doesn't hide the pain. It shows you, it's helps you to go through it. And I think that's something very, very important. Also, in the book, they speak about that, about healing through grief. How every emotion can be a doorway to understand something inside of us, to grow through this difficult emotion. And I think that plants really help us in that, as well cacao and as well as tea, which came into my life like a few years ago, and it's now also part of my ritual. And I think they work in a different way. Of course, they're very totally different plants than cacao. So I try to listen to my body and see which one do I need today? Which one is the medicine for me today? It's not one better than the other. Like someone maybe has more connection with tea, someone more with cacao, or there are different days that you crave a different medicine. And for me, the cup of tea, also when I drink it, it becomes like also a mirror to observe like what happens inside of me, but also knowing in this cup of tea, like it's the whole world. It's a beautiful way to connect to the trees, but also to the rain that nourish the tree, to the sunlight that hits the tree, to the people that cultivated and harvest the tree and the leaves for us. It's a beautiful way in doing that. And also observing the dance of the leaves in the water. It really helps us also to activate our senses. Of course, smelling the delicious aroma of the tea, feeling the warmth in your hands. And the dance senses can be also door to the present moment. So it's really helping us to stay present and focused. I think that's also why I like it as an approach for people that might say meditation is difficult, and sitting meditation, like staying in the quiet, is difficult. So, but there are many ways to meditate. Meditating with cacao or with tea or with a sacred plant. It can be a rose infusion. Whatever you find in your area, you pick some, which I love, chamomile flowers, and then make an infusion. That I was doing it when I was in Mallorca, and I didn't have so many things with me. And then we found some chamomile, and we had some infusion of chamomile at the sunset. I think it can also be amazing.
Chamomile is so strong, isn't it? And for your tea ceremonies, what tea do you use? Is it important, or is it just, can you just choose any, let's say, good quality tea?
So I think also there is to distinguish between, if we talk about tea actually is just what the leaves that comes from the plant Camellia sinensis, which originally comes from China and then was also brought to Japan later. So it's just tea. When we talk about tea, then it's really the tea leaf, which can be a green tea, it can be a pu'er, a fermented tea, it can be what we call black tea, which in China is more red tea, it can be the white tea. There are different ways in how the leaves are processed and work, then becomes a different kind of tea, but it's one plant, one leaf. So usually I like to drink tea that comes either from China, from Japan, and then I'm very happy, and I was very lucky and blessed to meet many beautiful teachers and people that visited many times the land or were on the land that could guide me also in this journey. I think that's also very important to have people that you can trust and that they can walk with you a little bit this path and show you. It was beautiful that we had this experience together in China, where we could get to know different types of tea, see the different tea fields. So now I'm sourcing my tea from them because I met them personally and I really appreciate them and I trust them. And as well as in Japan, when we visited and we met different tea farmers, so we bought some tea from them and I had the content to order the tea from them. So that's when I talk about tea. But of course, we call tea in Europe like everything, which actually also other plants is more herbal infusions. Mm-hmm. Herbal infusion can be also very powerful. And I like them. They are also suiting for the nervous system when I don't want to have something to activating, or I am out in nature. I like to see, okay, which plants also do we have here? Because every place has some powerful plants that they grow here because we need them. It is said that the plants that grow around you are the ones that you need the most. That's told me an alchemist that lives here in the Alps. She told me that when she likes to go to people's houses to guide them, and she always look at the plants that they have in their own garden or at the side of the street, because this tells you a lot about yourself and about what you might need in that moment. So that's why I said I like also to drink every now and then chamomile tea or rose or rosemary, like plants that I find here.
When we moved into our house here about 2.5 years ago, we worked on the garden because it was a bit neglected. And then about half a year later, I noticed that ladies' mantle, Frauenmantel, ladies' mantle came and lived on our lawn, and it became more and more and more, and it was so beautiful to see that. So I sometimes like to think that the ladies' mantle came because we're living here now. Of course, I don't know if it's true, but in a way it feels like that, because I've always liked to work with ladies' mantle a lot.
Yes, it's definitely can be a sign, a message, something that you needed in that moment.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm. And cacao, what kind of cacao do you use? I think it's not the normal cacao that you could buy in the supermarket, isn't it? I think it's some special ceremonial cacao, isn't it?
That's a good question, yes, because when I talk about cacao, we are used to think at the chocolate bars that we find in the supermarket or cacao powder. And when we talk about cacao, it's also the cacao plant, the cacao, the tree, and the cacao fruit. In Italian, it's called cabossa, the cacao fruit. And so we talk, and in ceremony, we use the whole intelligence of the plant. Also here, there is no exact definition of ceremonial cacao, but it is something also there. We work, my friends Lauren and I, that we founded the Yin Yang Sisters, and we do together cacao ceremonies, and we also import ceremonial cacao from Guatemala that we use in our ceremonies, and then that we sell for people that are interested. It's ceremonial cacao because in a way it comes from the land of cacao. It comes from Guatemala. We work with a women collective there, so we know that they always joke, these women, that when they prepare cacao, it's like they are making love. So it's really a labor of love. They live in the land of cacao. They was born with this medicine, and it's a way for them to pray, to harvest cacao, to prepare it, to peel each single cacao bean. So in a cacao fruit, there are inside around 40, 60 cacao beans. And they all you need to open. Then usually they are fermented for a while. Then they are sun-dried. Then they need to be roasted on fire and then to be peeled. And once they are peeled, they can be grounded in a paste. And that's what we get. It's like a big chocolate block, but it's pure cacao. And it also contains the cacao butter, which usually it's removed when we buy the cacao powder. Then when we buy the cacao powder, usually we have just that, and then cacao butter is sold separately to cosmetic industry or other purpose. While instead in the ceremonial cacao, it's everything. We have the good fat of cacao butter that help us also to absorb all the beautiful nutrients of cacao in our body. They're very good for our hormones too. And then this cacao, once we get it, also one of the differences that we prepare it as traditionally with water. Because one of the meanings of the original word cacao is bitter water. So they used to drink as a bitter water, as the cacao gently melted over fire, not on boiling water. And then this water becomes bitter, and bitter is also the taste, the flavor that is good for the heart, both in Ayurveda, in traditional Chinese medicine. And then it can be spiced with different kind of spices, Mayan spices or spices that we have here, and with natural sweetener in case, like some local honey I like to use, or some dates, anything that works for you. And also there in the preparation, it's mindfully and intentional where you get from, how it is harvested, and how you prepare it with intention. Of course, then how you drink it, how you share it. Another word for chocolate, it's meaning drinking together. So it's also intended to be shared, the cacao. For the Mayan, it was a way, and it's the way to sit together in community, to pray, to connect with their art. And that's why it's what I like to share it also in our ceremony here. It's another way to be in community, connecting to our heart.
That's lovely. So if anybody of you is ever in Bolzano, in Bozen, see if Arianna does a cacao ceremony, because it's really lovely. It's really, really lovely. Coming a bit back to the book, the little book of Zen healing. Is there any thought or idea in that book? You already told us a lot about it, but is there anything that really touched you, that really makes this book so special to you?
Yes, I think there are many little stories that are very powerful in the book. Now I have just 2 of them in my mind that really stick to me because they also touch me personally in my life. And one quote from the book, it says that the more mud, the bigger the heart. Healing blossoms in the mud. And we all know this beautiful image of the lotus flower that becomes so beautiful and grows, but with the roots in the mud. And in the book, then, they explain the concept of grief as a door, about discovering the preciousness of life in the difficult moments that we all live. Also seeing and noticing that in every experience, there lies a precious wisdom for ourselves, if we can stay there with the experience, even if it seems very, very sad for us at that moment. And that I can really relate to that when it happened 5 years ago now that my father passed away. And of course, it was a very, very, very sad moment for me, my mom and my sister and my family, but sticking to it, trying not to run away from this pain, from the sorrow that we feel there, then sitting with this pain, then it can be transmuted into wisdom, into compassion for ourselves and for others, into understanding also that everyone suffers in our life. Because it's a way to understand and talk to other people differently and understand as well the fragility of life, how we are so fragile, how really everything can change in a minute. So becomes even more important to stay present to what we really have right now, to really do what our heart asks us to do, not trying to postpone our happiness, but really live it now. And they also show us in the book, they explain a little Japanese ritual, the ribbon ritual, that they have when a loved person passes away. Then they tie one finger or one wrist of this person with a beautiful ribbon to a statue of a Buddha, statue, 1 inch statue, as a way to connect them to a source of infinite light. And when we came to the world, we had an umbilical cord that was linked to our mother. So we came from the infinite source of light in the womb of our mother. And this Japanese ritual shows also that when we die, we're also not alone. We also have an umbilical cord that in this case is just a ribbon that is tied to the infinite light, which is the Buddha or whatever works for you, a statue. And I think that by having these little rituals, that doesn't need to be exactly this one. Everyone can find their own. But healing ritual can help us also to move through grief, so that when a very, very intense experience comes, okay, we know how to handle. We have our healing rituals that can help us and support us in the journey. So that was for me one of the beautiful parts of the book.
Yeah, that's really nice. That thought of another umbilical cord when we're dying. That's really beautiful. There's a lot of consolation in it.
Yes.
For everybody, for the person who's dying and also for the friends and relatives. So
yes,
beautiful.
I think so too. And the other thought that it's a little bit more light, was about, you mentioned already this word before, and I love it, beautifying. It was about the concept of beautifying our life, like really making space for beauty. And sometimes I think beauty can be something so superficial, but beauty is a door, can really become, again, a gateway to be present to our spirit. When we see something beautiful like a rose, we stop in awe. And for a moment, you're just there, pure bliss, pure presence. So I think that it's a very, very important task in our life, trying to create beauty for the world, for ourselves and for other people, to have this moment of inspiration, to be connected with the spirit. And there is a little story also in the book where they explain about the monastery of one of the most popular nuns in Japan, and how in this monastery they lived very simple. They had a very clear schedule every day. And one day, this famous nun, she said, oh, she's very sorry, but she's asked to be somewhere. She's needed, so she needs to go. And that's why the whole monastery needs to have lunch 1 hour before than usually. And this 1 hour before then was, of course, changing the whole schedule of everyone because they needed to be ready and prepare the food for so many people in less time. So also this famous nun, she came into the kitchen and she started very efficient to cut with a sense of peace, not rushing, cutting the vegetable, preparing. And then when everyone was sat on the table, they saw and I was like amazed to see that on every dish, it was true. Even if they were like in a rush preparing, on every dish, it was some sliced apple in a form of a rose as a decoration. And then they were, wow, yes, her heart is never too busy for beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a beautiful way that we should also remember, even if we're in a rush, even if something happens and change our plan, we should never be too busy for beauty.
That's a beautiful sentence, in fact, isn't it? Because in our lives, we tend to be so much ruled by time, by timelines, by achieving things. And it's really nice, that thought, that there's always time for beauty.
Mm.
That's lovely. Really lovely. I'm curious about another thing. You mentioned the heart a lot. And what I'm interested in is, how are the heart and ceremonies linked? Could you tell me a little bit about your experience, how ceremonies work on the heart?
For me, each ceremony is a way to connect to our heart. And also cacao is called the medicine of the heart.
Yeah, of course.
In the book, also they explain about how eating means standing daily to the garden of our own heart. So it's like coming back to our own garden, to our heart day by day. And I really think that the doorway to the sacred is found within our heart. Our heart is this little sanctuary that we all have. In Chinese medicine, we say that the heart is the seat of our Shen, and the Shen is our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So the spirit that we have that landed in our body, in our heart at birth, our inextinguishable light. So this source of light that is always there. It's our connection to the source. And that's in our heart. And it's also said that when we are afraid, when we are not rooted, when our heart is not at peace, then the Shen cannot enter the bowl of the heart because it's already full of worries. When we manage to stay in our heart, in the peace and serenity of our heart, then it's like we have, the spirit is also, in Taoist mythology, is always described as a red bird, this little bird that found a nest in your heart. And we do not want to scare this bird. We want to keep it in our body. And I think every ceremony is a way to really connect to the space of the heart, to the emptiness of the heart. And talking about the emptiness, if you agree, I would like to share a little page from my own book, Life is a Ceremony.
Yes, because that's the second book that you brought. It's your own book. And when we first met, you gave it to me as a present. It was in Italian. And I was a bit anxious if I could understand it, because my
It's a challenge.
not so great. But it was really nice to read, and I absolutely enjoyed reading it. It's a very personal book in which you're sharing a lot, and it's a book full of wisdom. And yes, please read a bit to us in English. That is,
yes.
Of course.
So here's just like, we tend to believe that the heart must always be full of joy, full of emotions, full of memories. However, this fullness leaves no room for the new. And we often find ourselves filled with past experiences and feelings that no longer belong to us, but that we burden ourselves with. We tend to believe that the heart feels, but it is the mind, the head, that guide us. In the East, in some ancient and sacred languages, however, they use a single word to describe the concept of heart-mind. because it was believed that the heart was the center of human cognition, the center of awareness, and the seat of our spirit. In Chinese, Shin, in Sanskrit, Hridaya. In the heart, it is the heart mind that guides us in the decisions of our lives. And in Chinese medicine, the heart is seen as the emperor or the empress of the kingdom that is our body. And looking at the Chinese character, maybe you can look it up later, just Googling Chinese character heart, because it's a beautiful character that now sticks to my mind, and I call it often when I need it. So this character translated as heart mind, we see that the heart is represented as an empty, spacious bowl, ready to contain, but also to let go, not to hold on to. And just like the ceramic cup from which I'm drinking a pu'er tea from Yunnan at this moment, useful for its ability to contain, refill, and empty itself to make room for the new, the heart welcomes life, the present moment, but does not seek to hold on, letting go of each moment so that it can contain the next with full attention and awareness. The 3 dots above the bowl of the character Xing can be interpreted in many various ways. And my favorite version is the one given to me by my Chinese medicine doctor. The dot on the left that falls outside the bowl represents the past, something that has never been, has brought us this far, but now cannot disturb our heart, which remains free. The dot on the right that falls outside the bowl represents the future, a moment that has not yet arrived and should not worry our heart. The central dot, the present moment, is the only one that falls in the center of our sacred bowl, filling our heart with the hidden beauties of the here now. And so our heart, free from thoughts of the past, from anxieties and fears of the future, can embrace life, moment by moment, instant by instant, then return to emptiness and remain free, light, welcoming, a safe place where our spirit can reside, speak to us, and guide us. Yeah, this little part of the book, which is one of my favorite, it explains us a little bit out this experience of emptiness and quietude. Is a concept that is not so well known for us, not so popular. But emptiness or quietness, staying in the silence, in the space, it doesn't mean closing our heart in order not to feel enough. That doesn't have to be understood like this. We close our eyes, our heart, that don't want to feel anything at all. But it explains us that if we make space in our heart, if it's spacious enough, then imagine that your personal burdens, our worries, our fears, what we lived in the world, it's like a bag of salt. And if our heart is a small bowl of water, then when we put this bag of salt in it, then the water becomes undrinkable. If it's like a large jar, our heart, and we put the salt in, then the water becomes a little bit better, but still salty. But if our heart is as big and clear as a deep mountain lake, then the small bag of salt would be lost without a trace. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't live life fully. We shouldn't be in the sadness. We shouldn't live difficult emotion. But our heart is spacious enough to contain everything, to let them dissolve. And I think that's what we also should try to do. And ceremonies and rituals really helps in that, to become empty in order to be able to receive what comes into our heart. So allowing us to expand our heart.
To me, this understanding that we can work with the heart, that we can open it up, that understanding to me is a bit of a breakthrough, because it makes relating to the heart more easy, more light. And the Western understanding had always been a bit pressurizing, like you need to feel, your heart needs to be full of love. And I really relate to this understanding, and it really resonates with me. Now we're coming to the end of our interview, and what I would like to ask you, is there anything a bit practical that you could give to our listeners, like a recommendation how to integrate some of the wisdom from the books, from your own experience, maybe like a recommendation how to bring more ceremony into somebody's life?
So in the book, they talk about planting seeds of Zen in our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something beautiful that we can all try to do, planting these seeds of Zen. And as said, these seeds of Zen, they can be different for each of us. And that with presence and intention, everything can become a ceremony. So one thing that for me really helps, it's having a sacred space where I can come back to morning and evening. Of course, also we do not have to be too rigid about that. Like when we are on vacation, where we travel, you want to come back. So the sacred space always is within yourself, is your heart. It can be something, it is something that you always have with you. But having like an altar, for example, a tomb, can help you in that, especially at the beginning. And by an altar, again, I don't mean something big and doesn't need to be a huge statue, but something that you love. It can be a beautiful postcard. It can be a picture that you took or someone you love. It can change with the season. I love to incorporate some right now that have some branches of trees. In autumn, I have just some leaves that fall on the ground. In spring, some flesh flowers, sometimes a bowl of water. It can be something that connects you to nature, something that connects you, of course, to what you believe in. I have a Guanyin statue, for example, which is the Chinese goddess of compassion. You can have like your favorite book, a little bell, a candle, something, an incense, like anything that makes you feel good, that you really love, could be your favorite plant or essential oil. When you start your day there with intention, with joy in your heart, and you can do your own ritual, which can be just having 3 deep breaths, lighting the candle. It can be you prepare even your coffee, but you do it and you drink it intentionally in front of the candle or in front of this beautiful picture of whatever speaks to your heart, just by doing that. I think we also need to train ourselves in doing only one thing. Usually we drink the coffee or tea by reading the news, by rushing, preparing breakfast, but like doing this action slowly and mindfully, just focusing on that. Could be starting to prepare a cup of cacao or your favorite plants that you connect and you find around you. But having something, for me, it helps to having something fixed that always stays, really calms my nervous system, which is like my sacred place. I wake up, I go there, I take some breath, but then also allowing you to stay flexible and not becoming too rigid with your practice, because the practice and the ritual needs to serve you. It's not you that you're serving the ritual. So whenever you don't feel to drink the tea, drink the cacao, or to make your own salutation, then don't do it. Just ask to your heart, what does my heart need today? Do I need rest? Do I need movement? Do I need just to sit in stillness and looking out of the window? Do I need to make a tea very mindfully and slowly? Do I need to whatever things you need to do, call a loved one, then just do. But the most important things is the asking your heart daily what it needs. You connect with your heart and then doing this simple action with care, which can also be making a beautiful porridge and decorating it with flowers, like beautifying, of course, or going for a walk and then you stop under a tree to make a mandala with flowers, with leaves. That's also something I love to do when I go out. Really, it can be everything. And I want to leave you also some questions that they are also from the books. There are some questions that might help us. When you don't know where to start, you can just start by closing the eyes and asking yourself, how do I connect more deeply with my body, heart, mind? What would generate more joy in this moment? What would be nurturing in this situation? How do I experience more interrelatedness connection with everything that is around me, knowing that I'm part of a bigger whole? What kinds of ritualized activity can I orchestrate from my own heart that relates to me? What possibilities open when I expand my perspective of this situation? How might I create more beauty? What can I do to accept the flow of causes and conditions? How can I express gratitude? And what action embodies compassion for myself and others in this moment?
That's really beautiful. But it's also so practical, isn't it? And I think if you're interested in experimenting with ceremony, trying to find a ritual that supports you finding your inner space, I think with those questions, you've got a great starting point. It has been really, really lovely to have you here. I must say that I have learned a lot about ceremonies, totally new understanding of what they are, how they can serve us, and also what is important about them. So to me, you have really brought wisdom to us, which is precious. And I would like to thank you for spending the time with us, explaining and giving so much inspiration about ceremony. Ending this interview, we've thought about something special because you've brought to us a little text, which is like a small mantra. And I would like to ask you to maybe read that out to us.
Thank you, Catherine. And also thank you so much to all the listeners from my side. As just a closing reminder before the mantra from myself is for me the most important thing is to remember again that life is a ceremony and that the altar is you, that you are the sacred. That we don't need to look for the sacred outside of ourselves. It's inside of each of us. And to close, reading from the last page of this beautiful book, healing is an art. Healing is seeing everything interrelated in a perpetual dance of change. Healing is connecting with gratitude. Healing is harmonizing with compassion. Healing is creating beauty with the mat. Healing is a pilgrimage.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Arianna. Thank you so much.
You got it.
To all the readers, thanks a lot. And as always, keep reading, keep rising. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.